Father. Or should I call you Steve? Since it's a new year, maybe we should start cooking fresh with fewer smoke alarms this time. Your cooking's improving, but I can see the stress in your eyes. Anna's mom used this Blue Apron assemble and bake thing during our playdate. Pre-chopped ingredients, over 40 grams of protein, and just one pan to clean up. She just tossed it in the oven and boom, plating like she's got followers. So go to blueapron.com, Steve. Make 2026 the year you win dinner. Blue Apron. Get 50% off your first 2 orders plus free shipping with code LISTEN50. Terms and conditions apply. Visit blueapron.com/terms for more.
Ed, things to do in Denver while you're still alive, including watching Manchester United beat Leeds United by 5-1. You are in the Mile High City as we record this.
Hey! So it's not that exciting. Yes, I'm in Denver for a short trip. So, and in a fairly noisy area. So you may have some background sounds of people shouting at each other, which they seem to do all night long. Anyway, and they love the Mile High stuff here. So I went on a walking tour around town yesterday, and it's all over the place. Mile High this, Mile High that.
Talking of people shouting, shall we start right at the beginning with the reception for Champions League Varane? Absolutely. What a start the show with a showstopper. Somehow the football lived up to the unveiling, which there was a real threat that it wouldn't, because the place went absolutely, oh my God, it's a fast centre-back. We haven't had one of those for so long.
I know. And
feeling.
Look, sod all the fancy videos and playing pianos and whatever else. That's a proper old-fashioned unveiling, isn't it? Bring the lad
Brian
out
Robson
onto the pitch,
signing
give him what looked like a child-sized shirt.
It did look small. It did.
Maybe he's just big.
But they should have had a table with 2 chairs and him and Solskjaer doing the actual signing on the pitch,
Brian
obviously.
Robson style. Yeah, that would have been nice.
Exactly.
Right? Go with the retro shirts, right?
That shirt, by the way, is coming for a lot of criticism. Looks wonderful on the telly from the long range angle because although the team viewer logo is meh, and it would prevent me from wanting to own one of those shirts. On the telly, it's really neutral when it's not zoomed in, compared to the Chevrolet one, which you could see on every shot.
Yes.
So bad value for money for team viewer, but good for aesthetics.
Yeah. The only, we didn't talk about shirts in our preview show. The only thing I don't like about it is, up close, it looks a bit like, I don't know. It looks like a knockoff shirt. It's almost too basic, isn't it? So
we've been saying they should go back to basics, though. We can't.
You can't have both, can you?
No, it's like you can't complain that Trevor Bayliss wants Jason Roy to open, and then complain about Don Sidley when he goes like one or the other. Anyway,
swinging maybe from one pole to the other. Yeah,
maybe there is a happy medium. Let's listen. I mean, so I at the end of our previous show, I predicted a 2-1 win to Leeds United because Leeds would be super well prepared and United would look undercooked. And it turns out that yet again, oh no, I am actually an idiot and I don't know anything about football.
Well, the interesting thing is, Solskjaer has talked quite a lot in pre-season about being prepared, but he's got a team of people who are missing and undercooked. You just list who's missing. Varane not signed. Sancho has had 1.5 training sessions and like 10 minutes of pre-season or whatever it is. I think Luke Shaw and Harry Maguire had 2 games each and Lindelof 2 games each. And then he's got Henderson and Lingard out with the plague. Edison Cavani's isolating and has some personal time away. I'm not sure what that was about, but it's fairly ambiguous, that one. Who else is missing?
McTominay's had 10 minutes of pre-season.
McTominay had he's magnificent for no minutes of pre-season, basically, wasn't he?
Yeah,
and Fred's not had much of a pre-season because he had such a long summer. So it's no Bailly and no Diallo because they were at the Olympics. So he's got a lot of players missing. And no Rashford, of course. Shoulder surgery apparently has gone well. So you could kind of forgive them for being a bit undercooked and a bit threadbare. But it didn't turn out that way. It's we're getting to the specifics of all the goals, but just to turn Leeds over when they have not had most of their squad out and have had a pre-season and a Bielsa pre-season when they will have been running up mountains is pretty remarkable.
I'm a bit overwhelmed. So I'm quite glad we weren't able to record because of time difference and stuff. We weren't able to record on the dot of full time. I'm quite glad to have had a couple of hours since. Is it genuinely sort of intense sensory experience because. I talked so much about this at the back end of last season, and in the end, I'm absolutely sure that the thing that burnt me out more than anything else was just that empty stadium was like drilling into my brain. And for this to happen in front of a full crowd, the noise, particularly the unveiling, the roar after the Bruno goal, the first Bruno goal, and then at the end, the Stretford end all sort of staying where they were, basically. Like the ground, they pointed out on comms, with 5 minutes to go, the ground was full. You know what Old Trafford's like with 5 minutes to go, but it was not like that. And so it was just electric. And then the football, 4 assists, 4 assists, and Bruno with an incredible, I don't know what 3 is in Portuguese, but like fantastic, phenomenal, and that Mason Greenwood. Anyway, I'm struggling a little to be articulate and measured about what was, I'm probably not going to insist we're going to win the league at any point during this show.
Top of the league for now, until the end of the weekend.
Exactly. Sorry, Brentford.
Yes. So, because we're recording this on Saturday, a couple of hours after the game. So normally we record after the full weekend, so we don't have the full context. But, whatever. I'm claiming it now, top of the league, after one game. And it's funny, but also a measure of how clinical United were. 5 goals from 1.64 XG for United. I think it's 5 from 8 shots on target. So super, super clinical, and some great finishes in there. So shall we talk through the goals? First goal was absolutely Pogba's pass to Bruno to finish. Yes, it was so Pogba had the chance where he'd been put through by Greenwood, and basically did the keeper and then put it wide, essentially. Right. So you're like, oh no. And United had been so good in the first 20 minutes. They'd turned over possession loads, and you're just thinking, oh, we are going to hit the thing that happens when United are really good in the first 20 minutes and don't score. But instead, Pogba's pass is wonderful, but not like, it doesn't sit in Bruno's path. His first touch is mesmeric. I think his first touch is with his right, and he finishes with his left, I think. Yes, I think that's right.
And he kind of clips the keeper on the finish, and it bobbles in. And it was incisive. It was quick. The ball to Pogba was, it was snappy, and it was kind of instant. He gets the ball. Bruno runs. He hits it over the top. Lofted through ball, and Bruno, and amazing.
It was good value for United's start. United looked up for it right from the beginning, turned over the ball quite a few times. I don't know how many, I'm not looking at the stats, but it felt like quite a few. McFred in midfield, who, we know their weaknesses in progressive passing, but their strengths are getting stuck in. And both of them were getting stuck in, weren't they? It was quite tasty in midfield between the two teams, and pretty congested in there. But United had the upper hand, and got the goal, good reward, and I think very good in that first half. Just looked much sharper than should be the case for how little minutes many of them have had.
Yeah, that was the surprise. And Solskjaer after the game talked about Pogba getting a free role, and he really did. So the team selection was quite interesting. Dan, sorry, I'm not going to be excessively critical or negative. I'm just going to say the two words competition winner and then move on with our lives. That starting 11 was like the Sesame Street, one of these things and not like the other, which is, unfortunate for the kid, but hopefully Marcelo Bielsa still sees enough in him to offer him a brilliant career. Because I think with some coaching, anyway. You've got...
No, this is going to be a 99% positive podcast. The 1% is Dan James does absolutely everything wrong. Every single time. All of the time.
He put one really good tackle in to stop a Leeds counter-attack.
He did. He was millimetres away from a red card, mind you. I mean, he flew into that one.
Yes, but he didn't get a red card, and it was well executed versus executing the Leeds player. And it was that kind of game. It had some ferocity to it. But the starting lineup was interesting because it was McFred, but when you have Pogba and Bruno, McFred is a totally different proposition because Pogba and Bruno can quickly take the ball off them and be responsible for the progressive passing. And my goodness, wasn't Pogba responsible for some staggering progressive passing? I think I said really early on in the group chat, Bruno's on a madness because every touch was just on. And that through ball right at the beginning for Scott McTominay, where McTominay was kind of not quite through because it was a little wide, but the execution and waiting on the through ball was perfect is the only word for it. It was great.
Yeah. I mean, wonderful performance all round. As the second goal, of course, was Pogba again.
Well, Leeds scored first.
Yeah, of course. I just wiped that out. That was just after half-time, Leeds scored.
Yeah.
And it's true, for 2 or 3 minutes, it looked like they might be back in the game, didn't it? Because they were loving it. 3,000 Leeds fans there, which, they're Leeds fans, and it's unfortunate they have to spend any time in Old Trafford, but it adds to the atmosphere.
100%. I mean, somebody was meant to be singing "Who the bleeping hell are you" at Rafael Varane when he was getting announced. That is the correct order of the world. It should be like that. The Leeds goal, I mean, you said nobody closed him down, and I was watching it again. I was like, and maybe Luke, they were all just a long way away from him in their starting position. And Luke Shaw, actually, there was a fractional moment of hesitation. Luke Shaw, I thought, had a very quiet, very good game. Quietly had a very good game.
I mean, Ayling is the right back, right? So I guess you don't expect him to be drifting into half spaces like that. Normally, like the zone there, you'd have your deepest midfielder would be sitting in that zone. So I think that's the error. There's no one in there. But then after that, Shaw and Maguire aren't quick enough to close him down, even close the shot down, or the angle or anything. So it's all very static, isn't it?
There's hardly any time, though. It happens very quickly, and it was good. It felt a lot more like... And also, if their right back is, it's the thing, isn't it? Like, look, if their right back smashes one in from 30 yards, obviously there are things you can do, but that's the kind of goal you want to concede if you're going to concede a goal rather than...
Yeah, it's the pass. Yeah, sure. Stupendous shot, and you're not expecting that from him. And we got the finish we might expect from him with a later attempt that Ayling had, where he screwed it near the corner flag. So yes, it's the pass from the central area just rolled across. That's where the error's gone. But look, it didn't matter because, we were cursing for almost as, much time as we could get the words out in the group chat. And then United were back, and it was just a magnificent ball into the channel from Pogba. And then it's all Mason. That's just, it's so good from there, from Mason Greenwood.
I mean, Shaw does well right at the beginning to find Pogba, because United are under a little bit of pressure, and there's a little bit of me that was thinking, we're going to turn the ball over. Oh, we've scored. It was that kind of feeling. But Shaw does well to find Pogba, and Pogba's head up straight away, puts the ball. I mean, that one really did go into Mason's stride, but it was a brilliant run, and it's the kind of speed and strength and body awareness to hold off the defender and get the ball ahead of him. But he's still got a lot to do, and oh my God, did he do it?
Well, I think the really nice thing about that, I mean, it's a fantastic finish, but it's the work to get himself into the position for that fantastic finish. So, he didn't go to the Euros, and it was a decision they made that they didn't make with Marcus Rashford. It's interesting. So, Henderson had his hip problem. Mason had a knee problem, was it? Small knee problem. And
I can't even
Rashford
remember.
had the foot and the shoulder problems. And they made different decisions with, between the three of these players about whether they should... and Donny van de Beek had a hip problem as well, didn't he? And it's kind of interesting comparing what decisions the club and player and national teams have made between the three of them. But anyway, long-winded way of saying it's probably done Mason quite a lot of good. He got some rest and he's had a full pre-season and he looked sharp today. And I'm not sure. I mean, he has scored brilliant goals, but they're normally brilliant finishes, aren't they, from impossible angles? That one he's done too. From the impossible angle and to get himself in the position by being stronger than a defender. It's great all round.
Yeah, absolutely. And the kind of, this is going to... So, in general, first games of the season are wild anyway. The season where we beat Chelsea 4-0 in the first game of the season, like it happens. You get into a groove in an excited Old Trafford and United explode and I don't think this is going to be the story of the season all season. But what I do think is when Pogba and Bruno are both on it in the same game and one of Greenwood, Cavani, Sancho, Rashford, Martial is also on it, nobody can live with us. I think it's going to be very hard for literally any team in the division to live with us, which is, that's a very exciting position to be in. And that, the finish, I mean, you've talked a lot about the kind of the excellent all-round play, rightly so, that Greenwood exhibited. But the thing that was genuinely like, hardly anyone in the world could do this was the finish into the far corner. The perfection of the placement was, it was just absolutely next level, next level.
And then 2 minutes later, and United are 3-1 up. And this was great again. The weighted ball from Pogba and the finish from Bruno from the right-hand side of the area. Cracking goal again.
Oh, this was the over the line one, right? That it was obviously miles over the line, but the Leeds defender kind of tried to
exactly.
But yeah. Pogba on a hat trick of assists, equaling his Premier League total of assists from last season, but let's just quickly brush that over.
He didn't play much in the Premier League last season, but yes.
He didn't. But yeah, just on fire. And Bruno, you're right, that the finish was... Because he had to work a bit of an opening as well, didn't he, for the finish? And yeah, you just think this is... The two of these men are both absolutely desperate to put on a show at the first time they played at packed Old Trafford for, since March 2020, since that City game, right?
I mean, one of the interesting things about, where the assists have come from and, the positional play of that front four was that, quite a bit of the time, Mason Greenwood drifted out wide to the right, Dan James drifted into the middle, Bruno basically plays a false nine, and Pogba drifted into central areas too. Very, very flexible, and clearly everyone in United's sort of attacking group, apart from Cavani, can play sort of in any of those positions, and it's going to serve United pretty well. I mean, Sancho came on late in the game, played off the left. He might, and with Martial down the middle, he might do that quite a bit this season. He might end up playing more off the right, is what people, I think, expect when Rashford is fit. But really, any of them can play anywhere, and it's going to cause a lot of teams a lot of problems. Who do you pick up there?
Because they can all hurt you so much as well. I actually thought, 99% positive, 1% negative. I actually thought it was a slight tactical error at the point of the subs. I mean, we were literally 5-1 up, so it doesn't matter at all. But I kind of wanted him to keep Greenwood through the middle, play Martial left and Sancho right. And we did lose a lot of... I mean, this is irrelevant, but yeah, I did think it seemed almost a little like, I don't think Mason Greenwood deserves to be shunted out of the position that he was playing, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a more junior position, really, in United's system, the front three. I mean, actually, I think we found, just for example, with Marcus Rashford, he's more dangerous off the left than through the middle. Not because he hugs the touchline and puts in crosses or anything like that, but because he can cut inside and play in that space between the fullback and the central defender, and they don't know what to do about him. And Mason's got that as well. Now, we'll see whether he prefers playing through the middle or not. But it was very, very flexible today. And then, talking of flexibility, the thing we didn't know about this team was that Victor Lindelof has a 60-yard pass in him as well.
Oh, we did. We definitely knew that because he did that a bunch of times last. It was literally that is his Ashley Young cut inside and blast it into the top corner, not curl it into the top corner. That is quarter circle forward. Hard punch or hard kick, I guess, from Lindelof. That is his special move, and he picked out Cavani with a number of those last season. And this was yet another one. The one thing that Victor Lindelof does really well. He was like, Varane got announced before this game. I'm definitely doing my special move at least once in this game.
It's funny because when the goal went in and we were chatting about it and wondering whether it was offside briefly, and I think I said thick lines. And exactly that, it would have been ruled out last season for a toe over the thin line, but now we have this margin of error built in, or margin built in, which goes in favour of the attacker. We're going to see more goals, and I think it was something like 14 goals across all competitions. 20 was it? Right,
20 in the Prem. Yeah, 20 goals in the Prem last season
would have counted under the new rules, and I think it's good. And they're trying to do it more quickly. They're also they're looking at fouls in a different way as well. They're basically taking feedback from the clubs to and trying to adapt to it. And also we saw the other thing we saw is the flag going up when it's an obvious offside. Instead of having 3 phases of play afterwards and then calling it offside, just call it offside. And these are all good changes, I think.
We saw the penalty thing as well, because I think that one where Maguire clipped
Rafinha, was it?
Yeah, it might have been. Yeah, let's say it was Rafinha. He clipped a Leeds man. And
correction,
maybe
Paul,
it wasn't
dirty Leeds man. Yeah.
I don't actually think it was Rafinha, but I can't remember who it was.
Costa?
Anyway, he clipped him.
Costa? I forget.
We could continue to spectate. Somebody got clipped, and they were
Let's
adamant
just name
that
Leeds
there was
players, shall we?
They were adamant that there was contact, and there was contact, and I think it would have been a penalty last season, and I think it's absolutely right that it's not a penalty because this was a no harm, no foul situation, and the offside, the margin of, well, like you said, it's margin rather than margin of error, isn't it? The margin in Bruno's favour was completely if it's been the other way around, I'd feel the same way. That absolutely deserved to be a goal by the spirit of the law. Like the law is absolutely not in football in order to stop that from being a goal.
Yeah. And look, we're still going to get tight offsides. There will still be a binary decision made at some point to say that was on or that was off. And it might be someone's armpit is just on or just off via the thicker line. It's basically just saying it's not perfect. And we think there should be some margin here, and that margin should be probably with the attacker because they can now be whatever it is, 10 centimetres closer to goal than they could have been last season. Just because someone clipped their toenails in the morning shouldn't mean you get a goal scored or not, or they have a fatter bicep. I mean, it's we got some really ridiculous ones, and hopefully that means less sort of stupid debate.
Literally size 10 shoes versus size 14 shoes, last season would have easily made the difference, So anyway, what a goal. What a goal. Just phenomenal work, a phenomenal pass, and Bruno did extremely well to bend his run as he did, and the finish kind of is almost not in question, but it was absolutely excellent. And then
I thought
5-1.
Just one final note. Pogba slacking on that one, didn't get in with the assist. I mean, what was he doing?
Yeah, but he was like, I don't like this business of other people assisting goals. 5-1, even Fred's going to score. And that might have been the biggest XG chance of any of the goals, right? That's the Pogba's cut back to Fred, which is not the kind of most technically complicated skill that he executed, but it was absolutely perfect. The decision, the weighting, and the placement of that pass to Fred, How many times have we seen that just be slightly off its line and the striker has to take a half step and can't hit it in his stride, or it's slightly too far ahead of him and he has to stretch and he doesn't hit it? I mean, it was exactly where it needed to be for Fred to comfortably side foot it into the back of the net.
Yes, you're in trouble when Fred scores, for sure.
Yeah.
But
did he score in the 6-2 as well?
I just
I can't remember. I don't remember anything about
2
last
from
season.
McTominay in that one. I remember that.
Yeah, that's the only thing.
Yeah.
That's what we all remember from that. But I mean, and it's just wild delirium. The rest of the game kind of doesn't matter, except for Sancho coming on and the fantastic ovation and the great ovation that Pogba got. Bruno was given man of the match, which is fair enough because he was brilliant. I mean, 4 is more than 3, but hey. And the reasoning made me a little bit like, he just lifts the level of everyone around him. Like, he's saying Pogba doesn't lift the level of everyone. Anyway, let's not start. Let's not. There's going to be enough time during the season to talk about everything that's wrong with society.
Well, yes.
Bruno was really good in this game.
Bruno was really
Absolutely
good. He
brilliant.
scored a hat-trick. Normally, when that happens, you're man of the match. But Paul Pogba did get 4 assists, and he was generally very good. They took him off before the end of the game. He's not had a lot of football either. No, none of them had. And we got a brief view of Jadon Sancho, who didn't really get a lot of the ball. He tried a couple of dribbles. He actually positioned himself fairly deep, didn't he? I thought he might be sort of closer to the front guy, but yeah, got a few. Maybe attempted a nutmeg or 2. He's got a couple of months on Rashford in nutmeg wars, hasn't he?
I think he tried 3 nutmegs. in a very short space of time, and that's really mostly what I want from him this season is just a lot of nutmegs.
XN, very high.
Yeah. I mean, talking of which, the XG was quite low, but I bet the XT is quite high in this game. But
a lot of
expected
threat. We talked about it on last week's show, didn't we? Which I think it's a nice way of presenting sort of how dangerous a team is. Based on, for those who didn't listen, based on the positions you get into as a team on the attack and where the passes are made to get into those positions, you sort of rolled into this thing that the Athletic are calling expected threat. And there's a whole article by Tom Warville that explains it. And I think it's a nice way. People, you can take stats or you can leave them. We, I think, enjoy stats because it adds something to the discussion around the game without having to be too analytical about it. Some people hate it and they just want to watch the football, and that's all fair enough. But I think this is a kind of nice way of kind of encapsulating what we see with our eyes. United were dangerous today. Yeah,
that's it. And this is a good example of a game where XG, which, there's a lot of analysts who would say, well, yeah, never look at a game in terms of XG. XG is not designed to look at who should have won any particular game. That's why expected points is such a silly metric, basically, because it's like once you're 2-0 up, the game state is completely changed and blah, 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 blah. This was a really, really good example of a game where you can't say that United weren't ultra dominant. I mean, they weren't ultra dominant in statistical terms, but they were ultra dominant in terms of the feeling of which team was going to win this match, bar a 5-minute period, or maybe even less than that on either side of the Ayling goal.
I think, yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
Well, I was adding 2 minutes before as well.
It absolutely, a great opening day because as we talked about last week. You could have made a very good case for it going very differently today, and then the narrative around United would have started off on a negative foot right at the beginning of the season. But Solskjaer's talked about it. He wants United to come out of the blocks really fast. Don't think either of us or many people expect United to actually win the league this season. There are some very good teams in this league, but we're going to put up a good performance for most of the season. And like as he said, from November to May, United lost once last season. So that's what this team can produce. Added a very good forward and a very good defender to that. It's almost a very complete squad. Not quite, but almost,
Yeah, and it does seem like given that we just won 5-1 against Leeds United, we have to talk about transfers, right? Because that's what people actually care about.
Half an hour into the pod, all right, that's the boring stuff over and done with.
Yeah, exactly. And Solskjaer was very measured. It was very much like you never know what can happen in football type talk, rather than, we've got our eye on one more. I think in his Friday press conference or whatever it was, he said, we've got one more coming in, and there was some speculation about whether that meant Varane or not. And I was like, he's definitely talking about Varane here, by the way. Like, don't get it twisted. He's literally talking about the signing that's already been announced. But yeah, I mean, of course, we don't need to go into the need for a defensive midfielder. It exists. Everyone knows it.
No, and I think everything that happened with Messi over the last week and him signing that contract with Paris Saint-Germain has basically ended any thoughts of Paul Pogba going to PSG this summer. That's the only destination he could go to this summer. So Pogba is staying for the season, whether it's to run down his contract or he'll sign a new contract. Don't know which, probably the former. But he's here this season, which probably means, unless West Ham suddenly stump up 30 million for Jesse Lingard, that is it for transfers. But, hey, we've got 2 more weeks this window, so you never know, folks.
One thing that I think about the Pogba thing is I think if the club will do it, he'll sign a contract with a release clause. They'll work out what that is, so that they, that kind of everybody wins. Because even for Pogba, it's a big risk for a player to run down his contract, because if something happens to you in that year, then you're in real trouble. But it's
it's the thing you do, though, isn't it? You run down your contract and move to Paris Saint-Germain. So for the romance of Paris hotness, and nothing to do with the piles of oil-fueled cash or anything like that.
Yeah, of course. I mean, listen, if this is assuming the goodwill of FFP exists in some, they're not trying to be really silly, but I also just think Paris will think, well, I know we've got an unlimited amount of money, but we literally don't have to spend 60 million on Pogba this summer because we've just signed Leo Messi. So I think we're probably going to be all right in all competitions.
Yes. And as mentioned on last week's pod, definitely think there is some politics involved, and Paris Saint-Germain, FFP from UEFA doesn't exist anymore. Really, I mean, I think the more powerful stuff is happening at a league level in the Premier League, where it's fairly loose, but there are controls around how much you can spend, and in Spain, where we've seen it's very, very strict and top down. But yes, I think this is mostly politics. If Paris Saint-Germain wanted Pogba, they could have him. They just stump up the cash right now, but it would look kind of bad, wouldn't it? And Al Nassr is now bestie mates with Sefer in UEFA, so they're entrenching their power position. Anyway, that is the 3 minutes of transfer chat I think we'll have.
Yeah.
In what is about 95% positive podcast. Just changing the metrics as we go along.
You knew it was going to go down. 99
XP,
felt high.
Expected positivity, often fairly low on this podcast, but we're starting off as we mean the season to go on, I hope.
I mean, I don't know. It was just a joyous 2 hours from... I actually didn't watch the Varane presentation as it went out on television because I was obviously didn't know it was happening and the cricket was on, so I was watching the cricket to turn it over on the dot of the kickoff. But I went back and watched it, and just from that to the players leaving the pitch to such a phenomenal ovation, it was just bar, that one moment where you're thinking, oh no, just so fun and
just almost perfect.
Yeah,
beat Leeds, the old rival, 5 goals, Bruno hat-trick, all those assists from Pogba, Sancho debut, Varane announced / unveiled at the same time. Bielsa losing it on the sidelines when Luke Ayling missed at the end. Was it? Yeah. Ollie loving it. It was just the fans there for the whole 2 hours and whatever else. Football's back. United are back. We're going to win the league, Paul. We're going to win top of the league. We're going to, yes. No.
The thing is, we probably aren't going to win the league, but this is not the last time we score 5 goals this season. There's this stat that United scored 5 goals twice between Ferguson and Moyes, or whatever. Moyes, Jesus. Between Ferguson, I was thinking about the game that Moyes was in charge where we scored 5, I think, against Valencia, if I remember correctly. Anyway, long time ago now. But we hardly scored 5 goals. And since Solskjaer's rocked up, we score 5 goals every other week, or at least
fairly
somewhat fairly often, considering it's scoring 5 goals. And just the abundant evidence that the squad is of much, much, much higher quality than it's been at any time since Fergie, and there are just so many potent attacking weapons, and there'll be problems on the days when those weapons are misfiring, and we're not sure that the team is like structurally set up for dominance or whatever. But and we still haven't solved what is going to happen when the players are all more available, because Pogba flourished playing that free roll off the left of the 3 in the 4-2-3-1. And there's a lot of people competing for that slot. So, there's a long way to go left in the season, and there's a lot of kind of little problems to solve and challenges ahead. But what a start.
Absolutely. Yes. It was perfect. Until next week. Who we played next week, Paul? I don't even remember. I don't care.
We're playing Southampton on Sunday afternoon.
Southampton. Southampton going down, although last time I looked, they were beating Everton. I'm not sure if that's it.
He's not making it through this. He's not making it through this game, is he? If they lose this game, Benitez. Currently they are losing 3-1. They have lost 3-1 to Southampton. So Everton came back in that second half, and I think, everybody thinks Southampton are going down, right?
They think they're going down. They just sold their best player. So it's, I don't know what's going on there. Others will know better. But, it feels like they've given up on life, Southampton, if they're selling Danny Ings and replaced him with someone from the Championship who, albeit Armstrong, has scored a hell of a lot of goals at Championship level.
But bookmakers don't think Southampton are going down, by the way. Norwich, Watford, Palace, Brentford, Burnley and Newcastle all have worse odds than, better, whatever, however you want to put it. The bookmakers think it is more likely that they will go down than Southampton. I wonder how quickly that's going to shift around once
see.
People have seen what's happened to Southampton.
Yeah, Danny Ings, Southampton player, scored 7 minutes into injury time with a penalty on his debut for Aston Villa, so good for him.
Yeah, good for him. And bad for Southampton. Bad for Ralph Hasenhüttl's tricky stripes. I don't know if you remember what happened the last time we played Southampton, Ed. Any memories of that game?
No. What happened?
I think we won 9-0.
It was quite good.
I think we might win 9-0 again.
I would love to believe that is possible. Maybe you should have a pound on it, Paul, and see, because the odds would be quite good.
I'm not a gambling man, but and also obviously we are not actually going to win 9-0. But you'd think with them, they played a 4-4-2 in this game, which is an interesting sort of test for United. Do you think we're going to see Maguire and Varane? I guess is one of the interesting starting points.
He had preseason. He had some preseason with Real Madrid. I don't think he played any games, but he was. They had him pictured at training, didn't they? So no, I don't. I'd be surprised if he's thrown straight in there. He's, I'm sure they're going to want some training sessions, but we'll see. Maybe, Hey.
We might see Sancho. Question,
he's now had 20 minutes. He'll have another full week of training. So, yeah.
Yeah, he was with the England. I guess he didn't play a lot with the Euros, but he hasn't exactly had a long holiday, has he? None of those players that got to the final of the Euros have. Do you think we are going to see Sancho starting that game? If you had to guess,
if I had to guess, no. But there's a possibility. Yeah, so I think it's more likely he gets half an hour off the bench.
Yeah.
Or something like that. I'm sure he wants to be careful with all these players. But, clearly, it's Southampton. We're going to smash them. We never have any trouble at Southampton, ever, have we?
I can't think of any occasions. The only thing I can remember about playing Southampton at Southampton, because the 9-0 was at Old Trafford, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's hard to tell because it's all empty, but yeah, it was. The only memory I have of United travelling to Southampton, we've only played them away once, and that was the Robin van Persie hat-trick after he missed a penalty and apologised to everyone by scoring a hat-trick and coming from behind, and we won in what was his first full game. Maybe Jadon Sancho will get a full game and score a hat-trick. That'd be nice. I can't help feeling that this preview is limited by the fact that I have no idea who plays for Southampton anymore. They sold Vestergaard to Leicester. And obviously they sold Ings. Do they have any other? Shea Adams is
still there. Ward-Prowse is still there. Villa were trying to buy him, but they didn't accept the bid. But we'll see. Theo Walcott's back there, isn't he? What a miserable career he's had.
Wow, it's harsh.
Yeah, but not really.
Yes, it's extremely harsh to suggest that he's had a miserable career. I think he's had lots of moments of joy and excitement and extraordinary lucrativity during that period of time. I think he's probably quite all right. I mean, he didn't turn out to be a world beater, but very few do.
That's very true. Unlike Bruno Fernandes and Paul Pogba, world beaters today at least.
Yeah, and Southampton beaters next weekend.
I think so. United are starting strong, it looks like, and with each week that goes past, there's more players coming back. We might see Jesse Lingard next week. We'll see how he's doing. He said he was doing well. Dean Henderson, it looks like we're not. He's suffering sort of longer-term impact of COVID. Anderson Cavani, is he out of his isolation period by then? He might be, but he'll have only just started training if he is, so probably won't see him.
Yeah, I feel like Cavani's going to be October again at this rate. I guess it's a lot earlier start to the season, isn't it, than it was last time. The things that I'm interested in this game, I think it's going to be interesting to see how United react to playing away from home in front of fans, because obviously last season we went unbeaten away from home, but very good. I can't think of a better season to start with a home game than this one, because imagine it was you, right? Imagine you had to do the thing that you're good at, and there were 70,000 people willing you on versus 30,000 people shouting abuse at you and willing you to fail. So all the way through your career, you'd immunised yourself to that in the ways that you need to, but still, we know that home advantages are significant across all sports, so clearly it has a big impact. To have a year and a half off, those calluses, like if you played guitar and then didn't play guitar for a year and a half, your fingers would be all soft and it would hurt the next time you played guitar. So I actually wouldn't be surprised if there's a bit of there's somewhat of, you might see like a few slightly nervous misplaced passes that you wouldn't normally see in the early going of that game, because I do think it's going to be quite an emotional challenge to face.
We'll see for sure. In the aggregate, the results away and home are going to be different, right? Home advantage pretty much disappeared during COVID. And assuming we're going to get it back again, and there is a sort of 15% home advantage, isn't there? Which is very interesting. I mean, didn't work well, and it worked against United, I guess. 6 losses at Old Trafford last season and none away from home, and we'll see. But this is I don't know. I don't know what the crowd played a part in today's performance. Definitely. From United. Do you think it got them up early? Probably did. Probably contributed 100%. To the fast start. Yeah.
Yeah, and just the kind of, we saw this, I think, with the games with a few fans. There's a kind of willingness to try more outrageous stuff. I think the Cavani goal against Fulham, and this is not an original thought, I simply don't believe that goal would have happened if there weren't if there wasn't a crowd in. I don't think he'd have been so inclined. Well, it's a bit too definitive to say. I simply don't believe it would have happened. But I think there is a substantial, non-trivial chance he doesn't even try that if there's no crowd in. Because I do think they're desperate to impress and entertain, and I think having that extra bit of energy, they definitely kept up the press for a little bit longer than they necessarily have done in previous games in terms of that first 20 minutes we were talking about. And Solskjaer's talked about them, actually. This is just a slight tangent to a sort of tactical point and maybe thinking about the season as a whole. Solskjaer's talked about wanting to press more. Do you think we're actually going to see a more structured press this season?
I mean, within the same system or not? I mean, he's talked about it, but it hasn't ever happened. I'm not sure it happened today. Oh, no, I mean, they got some early turnovers, so maybe it did first half especially, yeah, and had some success with that. So, yeah, potentially. I mean, it's part of the reason why he likes Dan James. It's got to be one of the only reasons, right? He is a good trigger for the press.
Seems like a good, sweet kid. He's a good trigger for me as well.
Well, that's right.
There was one point, I'm almost sorry to say this, but it made me laugh so much I can't not point it out. There's one point that Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who for some reason found himself on the left-hand side of the box, turned in. I mean, I said he turned in on his left, but he didn't. He turned in onto his right foot into traffic in the box. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, not the right-hand side of the box, like by the D, instead of passing to an open Dan James. Like when Aaron Wan-Bissaka's blanking you in the box in favour of his own attacking talents, you know you've really got a problem in reputational terms.
Yes,
anyway, poor kid.
In the United playground, Dan James is getting picked last. That's the last thing we're going to say. It's so mean. It's just mean.
But you know, I was reading 442 magazine, and they have like a little thing with fans of various clubs, and they pick their best and worst 11. And there's a Swansea fan who's clearly like, certainly old enough to remember early 2000s, so not like a kid. And he picked Dan James in his best all-time Swansea 11 of the times he's been watching the game. So there's clearly a level at which he can excel. It does not look to me, it continues not to look like it's United, but I would have said the same thing about Luke Shaw a year ago, and now he's basically the best player in the country. So,
I think he's one of the most picked fantasy Premier League players.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm not a big fantasy Premier League. I set a league up every season and then set my team up and ignore it for the whole season, which almost certainly I will do again this season because it just can't hold my attention. But people do love it, and they talk about it a lot.
Take it real serious. I am not playing because I am not prepared to commit the time to be good at it. I would therefore rather not participate at all because,
Wow, fair weather fantasy football player. Well, I mean, to be honest, that's more commitment than I show because at least you made a decision. Anyway, so you got a score line for us next week?
I mean, this is, I predicted we were going to lose the previous game and then we won 5-1, and now I'm predicting we're going to smash them because I'm going to continue in the theme of just predicting whatever happened in the last game to be the thing that will happen in the next game. And I'm actually going to say we are going to win 4-0.
Wow, wow. Okay, I mean, I think it's going to be a comfortable victory. So, but I do wonder whether it'll be just a little more. Well, it's not. I'm going to play on the break against Southampton. I mean, we know it hasn't Huttel's style. They are a high pressing, sort of high energy team. But they're a low quality team, and I don't imagine. Do you think the crowd at St Mary's are going to be up for it in the way the crowd at the Dell always was? I mean, maybe for a bit, but I think United will take control of this one. They have that in them at the moment. So I'm going to say a 2-0 victory and fairly comfortable.
Lovely. Do you know what? I think there's not going to be too many games this season where if we're really comfortable, we only, in inverted commas, score 2 goals. Just because that's the kind of, I'm being slightly facetious with the 4-0 pick, but I just think it could all go wrong in any given game. But at any point at which it goes right, I think is going to go substantially right for United this season. So, Brill.
Very good.
Well, what a fun start. And if the season could continue to be more or less like this, that would be really helpful for us from a podcast perspective.
Yes, I guess we'll be back. There's backers content after this for those of you who back us on Patreon. And thank you very much for those of you who do. And then we'll be back, I guess, after the next weekend's game against Southampton.
Yep, so if you want to catch us in the meantime, follow Ed on Twitter at NQATpod. You can follow both of us on Instagram at NQATpod and patreon.com/NQATpod for all your getting more content out of us needs. I think we're going to talk quite a lot about Leo Messi in this week's backers content because the Premier League games have not happened yet. Boo! That's spoiler warning. All right. Thanks everyone else, and we'll see you next week.
All right. Bye now.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.